Good evening, everybody. Last year, the OFAH created the Conservation Officer of the Year Award in recognition of the outstanding work done by conservation officers across Ontario and the protection of our valuable fish and wildlife resources. The OFAH enjoys a strong working relationship with the MNRF and the enforcement branch and individual COs across the province who, as everybody in this room knows, often find themselves working far from home under very difficult circumstances. This year, we're pleased to recognize the Ontario Conservation Officers Association and MNRF Conservation Officer for 2014, Mr. Steve Emms. Steve is an avid fisherman and an avid hunter. He currently works as a provincial training specialist out of Thunder Bay, a position he's held since 1997. He's been a conservation officer for 30 years, and according to OCOA past president Joe McCambridge, is the first provincial training specialist to be recognized as Officer of the Year by the association. During his time at the ministry, Steve has worked in a number of locations and positions. He was a founding member of the MNRF Provincial Training Unit in 1997. He helped to bring innovative new training techniques and tools to the field that has greatly enhanced the training received by COs in firearms and defensive tactics. He has been active within OCOA and is currently the Northwest Region representative. When he accepted the Officer of the Year award at the OCOA conference last year, Steve said that he never considered being a conservation officer a career, but more of a lifestyle. He also took great pains to stress that without the support of his family, doing the job would have been impossible. When presenting him with the MNRF award, Lois Deacon, Director of Enforcement Branch, noted that Steve has a great ability to relate to other officers, and they in turn relate to him. In addition to his awards from MNRF and OCOA, Steve was also the recipient of the Shikar Safari Club International Wildlife Officer of the Year Award and the Midwest Association of Fish and Wildlife Agencies Officer of the Year Award. Steve's name will be added to the plaque that permanently resides in the Conservation Officers display at the OFAH Mario Cortellucci Hunting and Fishing Heritage Center. I'm pleased to be joined this evening by Lois Deacon, Director of Enforcement Branch, and John Clemens, Manager of Provincial Enforcement Operations Section, to help me present this award to Steve. And lastly, we're particularly delighted that Steve's daughter Jessica and her boyfriend Porter were able to be with us this evening to see him receive this award. So please join me in congratulating Steve Emms, winner of the OFAH Conservation Officer of the Year Award for 2014.
Well, thanks very much. It's interesting. Sometimes you wonder why you meet people at certain events. And I met Mike Evers here today. And when I first got on, I was contract. Mike and I used to work a lot together down in the Hall Landing and that for night hunters and that. It's a good memory. The other thing that kind of came to mind is his son talking about wanting to be a conservation officer. And when I was just a young guy, I really didn't know what that job really was, and I spent a lot of time reading all the magazines and that kind of stuff, and I still really didn't understand what the job was all about until one day I was going fishing with my uncle, and I remember this as it was today, and on Black Bank Creek, and when we got to the creek, there was some poachers going up the stream with nets netting fish, and I said to my uncle, and man, I was probably 11 or 12. And I said, somebody should do something about that. And he said, well, conservation officers do. And I said, well, what's a conservation officer? And he told me about it. And after that, I always thought about that career. But it was really hard to meet a conservation officer because they're like shadows out there. It's hard. You never need one, and you never see one until they're there. Anyway, so that's the bush side of me talking. Yeah, you can't take the CO out of the woods. Anyway, so I got to that, and it is a lifestyle, and I've really enjoyed the job. And I worked in the north, I worked in the south, and I just did the job that I was paid to do. And when I got recognized by my association for Officer of the Year, it was very flattering and humbling. And then when I found out I was getting an award to an organization that I kind of grew up with, outside of government, it was icing on the cake. Thank you very much for your recognition of the men and women that do this job, and I accept it on the conservation officer's behalf. And thank you again. You do good work.